Tall trees. Introduction of the lesson. Think of some tall trees you have seen. You find them in villages, in gardens, on the roadsides, in towns, in forests, and on mountain slopes. And maybe you even have one in such your courtyard. Have you ever observed trees carefully? Have you noticed how trees silently offer care and protection to all? The poet imagines them to be watching, sheltering, and peeping like human beings. Summary in English. The tall trees have roots and tops like the feet and heads of human beings. They watch the floating clouds. At dusk, the birds seek shelter in their nest in the branches of the tall trees. The tall trees stand and look when the world sleeps during the moonlit night. Dusk, the time just after sunset. गोधूली समय संध्याकाल. Shelter, to provide refuge. शरण देना, peeping, peering, झांकना. Which parts of the tree does the poet describe as its head and feet? Why? The poet visualizes the top of a tree as its head and compares its roots to human feet. The poet has personified tall trees as tall human beings. The trees are so tall that their heads seem to be close to the clouds, but their feet roots are firm and steady in the earth. What does the phrase feet in the earth mean in the context of trees? In the context of tall trees, the phrase feet in the earth means that the roots of trees are going under the ground to give them a strong hold. Question number 3. What do you think the phrase feet in the earth might mean in the context of a person who is tall, empowered, like the tall trees? Have you met or do you know such a person? Why do you think that this person is like a tall tree? In the context of a person, the phrase feet in the earth conveys a different meaning. The tall trees the tall trees watch the clouds and the things around them as humans do. They offer shelter to the birds and keep a watch over the sleeping world like night watchmen. What time of the day does the poet refer to in this stanza? Pick out the word that indicates the time. The poet refers to the evening time in the stanza. The word dusk indicates the time. Describe the two images that the poet has created through personification in his stanza. The two images created by the poet through his personification in the stanza are: first, like a person, dusk sends away the birds to shelter. B. Trees provide nests for birds to rest. Pick out words from the poem which rhyme with each other. B. Write 5 more pairs of rhyming words of your choice. Answer. The words sky by, rest nest, peeping sleeping rhyme with each other. More pairs of rhyming words are leisure pleasure, sleep weep, think wink, luck suck, sit hit. Who else besides the tall trees is talking loving, taking care of the world? How? Besides the tall trees, the moon is also taking loving care of the world. She spreads her light over the sleeping world. Do you know? Trees are an integral part of our world. There are a number of poems about trees. One such poem is given below. A tree stood so strong on the top of a hill. It was majestic and handsome, gracious if you will. It was a shelter to some, to others a toy. Just to be with people brought the tree great joy. Lawrence Sari. You must have seen big tall trees growing on both sides of roads in some areas. Have you noticed How these trees offer shelter and protection to travelers when the sun is bright and hot in the summer, or when they get caught in heavy rain all of a sudden. Imagine that you are a tall tree. One day, an injured, tired, hungry boy comes running and sits down under the tree, panting, puffing in pain. He picks up a big leaf on fan help to fan help. He covers his wound with leaves to stop the blood and ties them with a twig. He folds some leaves into a cup and drinks water from the nearby river. Then the boy lies down under the tree for some time. The tree watches in silence. Describe in 3-4 lines what you might have felt as a tree. One day, an injured slash tired slash hungry boy came running. He did many activities while he sat down under me. He used my leaves like a fan, a bandage in the moon. I felt that I was very useful for human beings. I thought myself as an angel who provided food, drinks, and shelter to the nearby. I was ignorant about the various uses of my leaves. It thought myself as a great benefactor of humanity. I felt that I was generous, polite, and self. Write a paragraph of 20 to 25 words about the three activities of the tall trees as described in the poem. Why activities? Which activity do you appreciate the most and why? The following three activities of the tall trees are described in the poem Tall Trees. In the first stanza, the tall trees are watching the clouds. In the second stanza, the tall trees provide shelter to birds at night. In the third stanza, the tall trees are watching over the sleeping world. I appreciate the trees' activities of watching clouds the most, though they are all tall, yet they try to see upwards. The picture of nature is presented as under in the poem Tall Trees presented as an integrated whole. The trees feel joyful while they watch the clouds. The dust sends birds to their homes in assets in the tall trees. Birds feel uncomfortable there. The trees silently keep a watch while the moonlight spreads over the world. Describe in a few words the picture of nature as presented in the poem. Here, nature is presented as an integrated whole. The trees feel joyful while they watch the clouds. The dusk sends birds to their homes. Assets in tall trees. Birds feel comfortable there. The trees silently keep a watch while the moonlight spreads over the world. Personification adds richness to the meaning, makes a thought vivid and clear, and relates to object idea to the world of humans. Think of some commonly used personification associated with the words given below. The first one is done for you as an example. Books are our best friends. Love is blind slash divine. Opportunity knocks but slash only once. Earth is our mother. D. Time and tide wait for none. Time waits for none. Time does not stop. Time stands still. Time runs. Have you ever tried to write a poem? Why not try now? Write 4 lines on any object of nature. You may create your own rhyme scheme. Read out your poem to a friend and notice how the rhyming words lead an essay flow to your reading. You may write on any of the following areas, or you may think of some other topic for a poem: sun, moon, stars, night, river, stream, mountain. Here is an example of simple poem with rhyming words at the end of every pair of lines. The sun rises every day. It brightens every day. Stars come up every night. They are such a wonderful sight. Shine, shine, shine. Pretty moon, come out of the clouds soon. It is the Purnima night. Illuminate the earth with your light. Imagine that as an MLA of your area or a sarpanch of your village panchayat, you are tall men like a tall tree. You have both power and position. Write short paragraph about how you used your power to help others. Use of power. I am an MLA of my area. I am a tall man like a tall tree. The people accept big and great actions from me. Expect big and great actions from me. The government has given both power and position. I awarded scholarship to all the meritorious students in my area. I granted fee concession to all the children below poverty line. I got senior secondary schools opened for the girls in all village of my area. I gave permissions to all the widows and senior citizens. I gave pensions to all widows and senior citizens. I got my area fully electrified. I got the temples, parks, and the celebration grounds in my area renovated. I made provision for tap water in every house. The feet of the tall trees are above, in, over the earth, in the earth. The heads of the tall trees are in the sky, below the sky, on the sky, above the sky, in the sky. The tall trees watch the clouds go by. The birds return to their nest at dusk. The tall trees shelter the birds safe in a nest. The tall trees peep on the sleeping world. How do the tall trees watch the clouds? The tall trees watch the clouds like human beings. Where do the birds have their nests? The birds have their nest in the branches of the trees. What do what do the tall trees provide to the birds? The tall trees provide shelter and safety to the birds. How do the tall trees stand? The tall trees stand with their feet in the ground and their heads in the sky. What do the tall trees and the moon do at night? The tall trees peep around the world around and the moon comes down shining and on a sleeping world. Which parts of the tree are called its feet? The roots of the tree are called its feet. What are the tall trees watching? The tall trees are watching the clouds. What are the tall trees watching? The tall trees are watching the clouds. What are the trees behaving like? The trees are behaving like human beings. Question number 1. The poem describes some activities of trees which are similar to those of human beings. Write a paragraph about the activities of trees as described in the poem. The poem describes some activities of trees. The trees watch the clouds changing their shapes, and colors. They provide shelter and safety to the birds at night. They stand out and peep on the sleeping world. The activities of the trees are similar to those of human beings. How does the alien Matthias describe the tall trees? The tall The tall trees watch the floating clouds. They provide shelter and safety to the birds when they return to their nests at dusk. They stand and look at the sleeping humanity at night. All their activities resemble those of human beings. What do the birds do after the dusk? How does the poet look at the tall trees? What do the birds do after the dusk? Like human beings, Like human beings, birds also need rest. They go quickly to their nests. The tall trees provide them shelter. How does the poet look at the tall trees? The poet feels that the human beings and tall trees are alike in some respects. The trees can the trees care for birds as human beings care for their children. The trees peep around as human beings look secretly at things around them. Question number 1. Write 100 words on I love trees. Trees are great gift to humanity. Like saints, the trees live and die for others. They give us shade, fruits, flowers. They add to the beauty of the surroundings. They breathe out oxygen for our survival. They provide furniture for buildings and fuel to the poor. They keep the weather well in control. They preserve soil, check floods and bring rain. They provide the gums and medicines. The whole civilization will collapse if there are no trees. Starting at the bullock cart to the heavy ship, we cannot do without trees.